Officer DeVore, I'd like to go back to something you mentioned earlier. Your partner said he saw a man in white?
That's right.
But you didn't see this person, did you?
You can't see hate either. Doesn't mean it's not there.
Kevin Kinfield is in the back of his SUV and sweats profusely as he tries, with no chance of success, to calm President Leonard Kennedy over the phone.
No, sir. Not as far as we know, sir. But the technology required to get away with this appears to outstrip anything we... No, sir. I didn't mean to imply they would get a... Yes, sir. Her plane should be landing in a few... Yes, sir. Of course, sir.
The president ends the call, and Kinfield takes a moment to close his eyes, letting out his breath in a slow, steady trickle of relief. He reaches into his coat and pulls out a small orange bottle filled with small orange pills. He twists the white lid and pops a Xanax, which catches in his throat a moment before he can swallow it down. He breathes again. A thick, oily voice interrupts the quiet.
Leonard's only going to grow more unreasonable, you know, especially when his daughter turns up dead.
Kinfield's boss, dressed in his usual ghostly white, is quite suddenly seated directly beside him, an inverted shadow. His driver Malik has never commented on Kinfield's boss in any way, leading him to the conclusion that Malik somehow cannot see the man in white. Kinfield stares out the window and speaks at a low volume out of the corner of his mouth.
It's only been an hour since she was taken. There's still a chance.
Did you vote for him? The Dynasty man?
No, I always thought he was kind of an asshole. Not like Trump Pence Bannon level asshole, but...
Still, I'm sure you can empathize with his helplessness. As a man, you must have felt it when your little Teresa was born. Vulnerable. Look me in the eyes and tell me I couldn't get you to steal the nuclear launch codes and bomb every nation on the planet in alphabetical order if I had her in my clutches. Go on. I might even believe you.
Heart pounding, Kinfield doesn't dare look away from the window.
Leonard will have to recuse himself, invoke the 25th Amendment. Tell Dunham to start prepping. He's been briefed on the appropriate protocol, so he'll know what to do.
Consider it done. Question. Why'd you let Marmoroth see you? He's not the type to stop digging.
I know. His curiosity was palpable. Something off about him, though. He's not from here. Have you checked his file?
FedIA personnel records are sealed. You've seen them anyway.
Luke Marmoroth didn't even exist on paper until 2013. He's hiding something. I can taste it.
Kinfield wipes his forehead with the back of his hand.
You still don't exist on paper, and CONCH has been your secret love child for, what, over a decade now?
Why raise a child if you can't eventually show it off to the world?
Why even have a child if someone can just take her from you?
His boss smiles at his boldness, and the temperature in the SUV drops.
The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Don't get emotional, Kevin. It makes you brave. And when you're brave, you're not useful. And when you're not useful, you're wasting my time, and I don't like that. So, why don't we skip over the part where I casually mentioned how unfortunate it would be if little Teresa went...
Sure. But what happens when Marmoroth digs into you? Finds out how often you've met with Kennedy over the years? With Dunham? Or how about Cat Wild? What about your fancy dinners over at the Department of Defense? See? I've done my homework too. And once Marmoroth finds your sticky fingerprints all over the DOD and Homeland, the money will stop flowing, and there will be a federal investigation. A very public one at that. And your baby will be dead in the water.
Kevin, don't be absurd. I don't have fingerprints. Would you like to see?
Kinfield shakes his head, no, as his boss begins to tug at his leather gloves with a hungry grin.
Ah, come now, be a good dog, Kevin. Look.
His boss's fingers are wrong. It's not just that there are 12 instead of 10. It's that each finger has an extra joint, allowing them to curl in on themselves like the fingers of a crudely drawn cartoon character. And plain as day, there are no identifying swirls at their tips.
See? Do you see?
Kinfield shudders and puts the back of his own hand to his mouth to keep from being sick at the sight. His boss picks up the gloves again.
You're right about one thing, though. The spotlight won't be stopped now. My child is about to head out into the world. But I'm confident Marmoroth will find whoever's been framing CONCH for this, and I'm very much looking forward to that.
Kinfield takes a deep breath and clears his throat. All he has to do is keep being useful, and everything will be fine.
Who even knows enough about CONCH to want to frame you? Special Programs has been classified at level 10 since the office's inception.
Progress will always have enemies, Kevin, the worst from within, like a tumor. The trick is to cut them out before the cancer spreads.
Do these enemies have names? Look, I don't know what you have planned for Dunham, but if I can point Marmoroth in the right direction, we can avoid any collateral...
He is again alone in the back of the SUV. His boss vanished into thin air. Malik is eyeing him silently in the rearview mirror. Kinfield swears and lets out a sigh, focusing on his breathing to steady his hand, but he can't get the shaking to stop. Determined, he forces down another Xanax, wraps his arms around himself, and trembles all the way back to his office.
You're listening to Dream State by Matt McCarthy. Produced by Tynan Media. Dream State is intended for mature audiences. Episode 2. Mission.
Have you ever seen him, Claire? The man in white?
Yeah, a couple of times. First time just before the whole Jenny thing went down, I was wandering down by the docks after school, and there he was. White suit and top hat, and he greets me with this big smile, makes harmless small talk, and then he starts talking about this YouTube series called Marble Hornets, and we all know where that led. Growing up, I learned a lot about Voodoo and the different Nation Alois spirits. I thought he looked kind of like Baron Samedi or Mayday, but he wasn't. I don't think there are any Lois as bad as him.
She pauses a moment and glugs down half her Pepsi.
Anyway, he usually don't want to be seen, and if he does, it can't mean nothing good.
What would you say to reports that he's met with President Kennedy and Vice President Dunham?
On multiple occasions.
I'd say that explains a lot.
President Kennedy is about to speak. In his early 50s, he runs a shaky hand through peppered hair and rubs his large chin. He wears a solemn navy blue suit and tie for the press, befitting the current situation. Not quite black. Not yet. Rosie's only been missing a couple hours. Reporters try for his attention as he walks across the small stage to the podium, seal of the president on full display behind him, but they quickly quiet down, respectful. The clicking of cameras is audible, even on TV.
At 11:23 this morning, Special Agent Tomas Esperanza of the Secret Service called in an AOP, which stands for Attack on the Principal. Feels strange calling it that, instead of just calling it what it was, an abduction. By 11:27, Nancy and I learned that our daughter, Rosemary, had been kidnapped in the middle of exploring grad school options in Los Angeles. Both agents assigned to my daughter's detail were shot during the attack. Special Agent Tomas Esperanza, who called in the attack, and Special Agent Krista Mendelson, who gave her life protecting that of our daughter. Agent Mendelson's family has been notified, and we ask that you please respect their privacy in this time of grief. Our hearts and our prayers are with them. It is currently unknown who Rosemary's abductors are or what they hope to accomplish by this assault on our country, our values, and our family. While we work to bring Rosie home safe, I want the world community to rest assured that the United States of America will not bow to terror and will never be taken hostage. At this time, we ask for your prayers that God will guide this investigation. And may God bless the United States of America.
Uskford turns the TV off and tosses the remote onto Nat's desk, which is smushed together with Luke's in an L shape. Both Uskford and Tyndale turn to them.
In case you were wondering, that was the President of the United States discussing your case with the entire world. No pressure or anything.
Obviously, this is top priority, so take whatever resources you need.
There has never, ever been more pressure to solve a case, so I'm warning you now. If it looks like you're in too deep, we'll step in to keep you from drowning.
But we really don't want to do that, so be quick. Are we clear?
As Scientologists can only dream.
We'll have a lead within the hour.
We'll leave you to it then.
As soon as Uskford and Tyndale leave their office, Luke and Nat turn to the stacks of paper on their desks, both of them opening, scanning, then tossing aside several. Nat abandons the analog and picks up her tablet, her fingers pirouetting about the screen.
No pressure or anything.
We hear back from CONCH yet on those lab results?
No, but I just Googled Claire Swanson. You're not gonna fucking believe this.
She motions him over to her desk, and he reads over her shoulder.
You're right. I don't fucking believe it.
Claire fucking Swanson. I mean, come on, Slender Girl? And she wasn't even the worst of them. CONCH's roster of field agents consisted almost entirely of psychopaths registered in the APA's federal armament blacklist. Any semblance of sanity we believed our government had vanished that very second. Unfucking believable.
We'll be interviewing Deputy Agent Swanson soon enough. I'm pretty sure we can handle her. We thought you could too. Maybe we thought too much of you.
I think you're being naive if you even entertain the notion that Claire Swanson isn't exactly where Jack Meridian wants her to be.
Claire smirks as she sips her Pepsi, studying Fivehead and Double Chin. So confident. There is a message alert from Fivehead's phone, and after a second she rises from her chair, touching her manicure and Princeton 2002 class ring against the desk.
Excuse me, I need to make a call.
You really should be here for this.
James, just handle this for me.
Once Fivehead is out of the room, Claire waggles her eyebrows at Double Chin.
All right. Miss Swanson, tell me about Slender Girl.
Her smile curdles into a grimace.
Never was too fond of that name. Always made me feel kind of like a leaf in October. Like all it would take is a gust of wind to blow me away. What I did was a bit more fleshed out than that, don't you think?
Ugh, you murdered your best friend.
There's always more friends and more pain. Everyone gets betrayed, everyone gets hurt. Even Christ couldn't escape unscathed. I bet that flogging and crucifixion thing hurt real bad. And to say nothing of Judas's silver, Peter's denial, Thomas's doubt. But as Christ demonstrated, betrayal and sacrifice can lead to transformation, to transcendence. But I got a federal pardon as soon as I joined CONCH. What's any of this got to do with Rosie Kennedy?
Double Chin takes a case file from a valise beneath the table and slides it to her.
One could argue that, given the state that Rosemary was found in, her abductor also seemed interested in transformation and transcendence.
Bullshit. I was there. I saw. The whole setup was a clusterfuck of primal symbolism and biblical imagery and red herons, all pointing to 1,000 different directions. Smoke and mirrors. Her abductor didn't give a shit about transformation or transcendence. They got exactly what they wanted. Panic, terror, suspicion. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Fed IA turned up what I had done to Jenny on day one. And at first, they didn't look much further. Once they had me in their sights, it didn't take long to dig up something on Jack. Unfortunately, Mayday is commencement day for our prelim agents. We all had enough on our plate that day without the first daughter fucking our shit up.
Claire fingers the grip of the humongous gun strapped to her hip as she steps through a glass door and into the launch tunnel. It resembles an oversized vertical wind tunnel, and its upper workings are a maze of wires and cables as thick as her arm. She walks across brightly underlit glass panels on the floor, and spaced along the edges of the glass walls are a dozen stylized medical beds, metal slabs with red leather cushions arranged around the tunnel like the numbers on a clock. Each bed has a plague mask hanging from a hook on the side, along with its own wig of electrodes snaking to a monitor near the wall. There are 7 other agents littered across the beds, each in various stages of fastening their masks to their heads. Only Sakayume is unfastening her mask, having just returned from her solo prep mission. Even without Kagame as part of today's transliminal reconnaissance squad, this is a big group. Most missions are smaller, but half of these agents still aren't at full capacity and just went through the commencement ceremony. Jack's speech still echoes in her thoughts.
I look at all of you new agents, and I'm reminded of a recent scientific study. Mice were isolated and put into enclosures made of nothing but strips of papier-mâché soaked in cat urine.
On the beds, Claire passes Senior Deputy Hesperus Pontiff, a tall man with slick blonde hair and a lavender tie tucked into a gray waistcoat. He also has a massive facial scar stretching from his left temple to jaw, but that doesn't stop CONCH's lead scientist, orange-haired Dr. Brandy Onken, from flirting with him in inaudible murmurs. Claire looked up his name once. Hesperus means Nightbringer, or the Evening Star, or some other such bullshit. According to Jack, Pontiff used to work in corporate espionage, and CONCH's rumor mill is filled with tales of his exploits as an assassin. Claire isn't sure either is true, but that doesn't keep her from avoiding him whenever possible.
Mice can't stand the smell of cat urine. Even 10th generation mice. 100% of subjects refused to venture towards their boundaries and died in their papier-mâché worlds, alone.
Near Pontiff is Gabriel McCreen, a tall ginger in his 30s with sideburns and the traces of a beard shading his jawline. He wears a coffee-colored plaid suit and specializes in transliminal communications, specifically with the dead. Prior to CONCH, he sold his abilities to the extremely wealthy, and most of them were woo enough to keep showering him with cash, even though, according to Gabe, he never relayed the messages correctly. He tweaked them to prey on the client's guilt and insecurities, which tended to result in more money. Social engineering 101, as he likes to call it. Lying next to Gabe is Ben Crow, baby-faced with frosted hair like a Disney Channel teen star. At first, it wasn't clear what Ben was capable of. Shy, awkward, but then he burned down his house, parents still inside, without striking a single match, almost like pyrokinesis. Since then, he's embraced his firebug identity. His shirt is the color of hot cinders, and his silk yellow tie is in sweltering contrast to his otherwise charcoal black suit. By far the quietest CONCH agent, he and Gabe came on a little after Claire. She's worked with them both for over a year now. The other 3 are newbies who she's only run a couple exercises with. Fearless Ralph Parness is dressed for a funeral in a completely black suit, black shirt, black tie. Chain-smoking Simon Fitz actually looks sharp for once in a blue suit with a yellow bow tie, and has a streak of white in his otherwise brown hair. And platinum blonde gladiatrix Peggy Schaefer wears a dark gray suit with a plum blouse and combat boots. As Claire settles at her own designated bed, she picks up the plague mask at her station and puts in her earpiece. Through the glass wall, adjacent to the door she entered through, is the control room. She catches the eye of Octavia Tier, a scrawny, freckled girl of medium height. Their primary field handler, Octavia wears a navy blue polka-dotted dress shirt, buttoned to the collar, and a microphone headset over short, greaseback hair. She clicks her tongue piercing around her teeth, anxiously staring at a large control terminal through thick-rimmed hipster glasses. Claire straps on her mask and lies down.
Deputy Agent Swanson, Transliminal Reconnaissance Squad 1, awaiting handle. I repeat, this is Deputy Agent Swanson, TRS-1, awaiting handle.
Congratulations, Swanson. I heard you got your gun back.
All of us gathered here today are more than that.
Almost Pavlovian, Claire's trigger finger twitches.
Come on, Doc. You know this thing's more than a gun to me.
Please don't tell me you sleep with that thing. I mean, I know the men here aren't exactly winners, but maybe you should consider playing for the other team, Slender Girl.
Oh, you go ahead and keep calling me that bitch. I will totally end you.
We are better. We know better.
The rest of the agents finish strapping on their masks and lay down on their beds. Looking up, the launch tunnel's vast array of wires and cables come together in loops and patterns that look like 3 interlocking dream catchers. Through the glass wall, Octavia is arming communications at her terminal.
But sooner or later, something from the other side will tear a hole in our papier-mâché universe, and hell will come flooding in.
Get over it, Slender Bitch. You ready to use that thing? And Nat is a surrogate boyfriend?
Claire doesn't answer, and instead focuses on quelling the gallop of annoyance at that stupid nickname, Slender Girl.
Luckily for us, humanity is a little more evolved than mice. After all, we have the advantage of fire. Without it, where would we be?
Come on, Claire, be happy. You're off probation, man. Now are you ready to go shoot some bitches or not?
I've been instructed to conserve ammo.
Well, yeah. Uranium is hella rare. Maybe if you could try not to waste any of those precious bullets on fellow agents this time.
Oh, for the love of fuck, am I ever gonna live that down?
Now, fire existed long before we harnessed it.
Okay. A, I grazed him. B, he was about to botch the exercise. And C, he's only a prelim.
Not as of an hour ago, I'm not.
Claire turns on her bed to look at Ralph, even though there are several people in between them.
But something special about us made us think to strike two rocks together.
Okay, how's this, Parnas? I'll try not to shoot you, and you try not to compromise the fucking mission.
Yeah, about that. What's our objective again? Are we team distraction? I feel like we're always team distraction.
And now that same instinct, that same capacity, makes us need to know what's coming.
Let's keep the chatter to a minimum. Everyone, check in for handle. Agent Ralph Barnes, Translim Recon Squad 1, awaiting handle. Agent Ben Crow, TRS-1, awaiting handle.
Agent Peggy Schaefer, Transliminal Reconnaissance Squad 1, awaiting handle.
Agent Gabriel McCreen, TRS-1, awaiting handle. Agent Simon Fitz, TRS-1, awaiting handle.
Senior Deputy Agent Pontiff, TRS-1. Octavia, I need comm branches.
And in knowing, mankind will have the capacity to fight hell's fire with fire of our own.
Amen, amen, sir. I have you with direct branches to Crow and McLean on Channel 1 and Swanson on 2. Swanson is direct to Fitz, Schaefer, and Parnas on her 1, you on her 2. Emergency broadcast on 3, and for yourself and Swanson, route channel direct to me. Game?
Set.
Match.
Octavia presses the enter key at her terminal, and the launch tunnel's lights dim from bright white to a rich indigo. Everyone's mask echoes as aerosol is sprayed inside. Everyone inhales.
We are the striking of two rocks.
Launching to the Oniric plane in T-minus 10 seconds. Everyone breathe deep and count backwards from 10.
We are the fulfillment of human potential.
10.
We
9
are fire!
The ceiling opens onto what at first is a bright light. It quickly dims, and Claire is staring at a dark, cracked, barren desert, 1,000 feet above, and she is falling up towards it. Panic nearly seizes her before she remembers to check her smartwatch. When she looks at the CONCH-issued timepiece, the numerals are gibberish, changing by the second, crawling around the watch's face like hyperactive maggots. Claire is under. With this knowledge, she shifts her body and eases her descent, landing on the broken desert floor in an uneven squat, one knee up for balance, the other down on the ground, poised to spring into action if she needs to. Her left hand is on the ground to steady her, her right arm out, gripping a fully extended CONCH-issue baton, at the tip of which is a sharp metal spade. Her squad mates appear in quick succession, masks on, all landing in similar poses, batons at the ready. But there's nothing here. Nothing but the glyph port beneath their feet, a flattened imprint of the launch tunnel wiring, glowing in the black sand like a cattle brand. The 3 entwined dream catchers. The sky could have been a photograph of a spring day that's been pissed on, ammonia staining the bright blue a soured green. The soil, sucked dry of moisture, and anything that could be called living, stretches out like a vast, shattered plain of obsidian. Dead ahead looms Claire's mission, Pica Forest, though forest is too generous a word for the reality, more like someone tried describing what a forest should be to a god with ADHD. The result feels like an unfinished video game level, odd bits of matter poking and floating outside the lines, but it's forest-esque. Beyond it, a gargantuan mountain defies the unimpressive heights of its jagged brothers, reaching up past the clouds in its hubris.
And something's trapped in there?
Something big. take your team straight into the trees. There's an opening around your 11. Crow and McCreen, through the shift port.
A hovering swirl of inky clouds and indigo light floats midair, just outside the glowing imprint in the desert floor. Kagami is a master at making these little shift ports.
Let's move, people!
Gabe and Ben leap through it and disappear, but Pontiff pauses and turns to her as he approaches it.
Once the mountain is down, take your team through the forest, bulldoze it if you have to, and meet at the rendezvous point.
Hesperus leaps through and shifts away.
Copy that. Parness on my 6, Fitz, Schaefer, flanking, mask solid everyone, spade sharp.
With a whipping flourish of her arm, Claire transforms her baton into a full longsword, in the likeness of an elongated spade, anime huge in proportions, yet incredibly light to handle. The others follow Claire's lead and transform their own batons. Parness twirls his long spade once and lets it come to rest on his shoulder, while Fitz has to try a second time.
God damn it, we got this. We got this.
Good, let's move.
Claire, Parness, Schaefer, and Fitz move forward towards the forest in perfect cross formation, long spades at the ready. Through the half-formed trees come flapping and fluttering, the beating of large wings. Claire lifts her left forearm, hand a clenched fist, signaling for her team to halt.
The fuck was that?
Different forest, Simon. Different things to be afraid of.
Don't patronize me, Peggy. I'm serious. What the fuck are those?
More fluttering, this time from the opposite direction.
Velociraptors.
Way too small to be velociraptors.
Wrong. They were the size of wild turkeys. And they had wings. The ones in Jurassic Park were Deinonychuses. Deinonychi?
Don't be dumb. They're magpies. I recognize the markings.
Claire tightens her grip on the hilt of her long spade, and the dark metal gleams the pestilent green of the sky.
Definitely magpies. The size of wild turkeys.
It takes a second for Claire to spot them, but there are, in fact, carnivorous magpies the size of wild turkeys perched all around them on half-formed branches.
Fun fact. Magpies will eat fucking anything.
Good to know. Spades stay sharp.
She taps her earpiece.
Literally anything.
Doc, you seeing all this?
Amen, amen. Do not put your weapons up. Perception radio, there's at least 100 of these guys. I repeat, do not put your weapons away. Another fun fact, magpies really, really like shiny things. Like swords made of honoranium.
Wait, so you think that we should retract our weapons?
They could have flocked together by now, overtaken us in 5 seconds flat. What the fuck are they waiting for?
A large winged figure swoops down from the sky on great black wings that span nearly 40 feet. He is mostly humanoid but has beady black eyes and a large corvid beak in place of a nose and mouth, like a parody of the masks her team is wearing. The creature has markings on his skin, identical in coloration to the birds in the branches.
Morning.
Is it?
Always morning here. Or evening, if you like. But morning leaves a day that never comes open to such potential.
Night has potential too. What's your name?
Magpie. Mr. Magpie.
And...
Sorry to interrupt, little bird, but who are you and what are you doing in my forest?
My name is Claire Swanson.
A swan, did you say? A swan.
Deputy Agent Claire.
Yes, I heard you, darling. Claire Swanson, Claire Swanson. Yes, but not the perfect, graceful, dutiful white swan, are you? Not an Odette.
He takes a step toward her.
More of a black swan. An Odile, aren't you? Oh, I can feel it.
Magpie inhales, chest expanding so his body plumage is visible, then lets it out in a cackle. The other magpies echo his amusement as he circles around Claire's team, a crude imitation of a 12-year-old girl's laughter.
At first, I felt a sort of cognitive dissonance. It's easy to lose track of what's real down there. Birds laughing like children, but then I actually recognized the laughter. Sounded exactly like Jenny. Exactly. Magpie probably thought it would throw me off balance, play head games with me, blindside me, try to make me feel guilty, then scare me into doing something stupid.
And did it work?
You've read my file, James. I don't really feel fear or guilt. I feel wonder. Don't you get curious about things? Like how much more threatening you'd look in a fitted suit? There's this fantastic tailor in Glendale. Fix this whole saggy elephant aesthetic you got going on.
Double Chin checks his phone for the 5th time in half as many minutes.
Have you tried texting her? She has been gone a long time. Maybe she had a family emergency. Maybe she's starting to realize that busting into our facilities with subpoenas to detain every single CONCH employee for questioning was a little short-sighted.
And why were you and your flock sent to my home, little bird?
We are agents of CONCH.
A conch, did you say? Like a shell? A cheap shelter to be discarded at the end of the life of slimy things? Are you a slimy thing?
Another step toward her.
Are you? Why are you here?
Keep him talking, Slender Girl. Package almost delivered.
You're right. A conch is just a shell. But where I'm from, there's a story about a group of children stranded on an island. They're cold, starving, and if they don't organize, they'll die. One of them finds a conch on the beach, and the shell is passed around, each speaking when the conch comes to them. Well, now we've come to you. Ain't it your turn to speak, Mr. Magpie? Didn't the Black City once extend to these woods? Looks like your neighbors are inching onto your lawn. Who fucked you?
Another step.
It wasn't like that. More like Pica Forest extended to the Black City. But that was a long time ago. Before Legio, the toxic fucking colossus, swept through, contaminating everything. Lord Duma finally stopped him, of course. Put him straight to sleep.
Claire's ears come to attention at the mention of Duma.
It's funny. Our forest used to go to the City of Sand, too. Time was, we could scare His Majesty's guests when he let us. This one lass stayed for over a decade. Oh, she was lovely. Fierce. But without Lord Duma in the seat of power, everything's fading. Boundaries disappearing like protections weakening. Fissures cracking.
Where is the Lord Duma now?
Dunno. Dad, I tell you if I did. Lots of Nod folk searched high and low. From the Hermit's Cave to the ice trenches of Sedna. It's been near 7 years.
A deep, subsonic boom. Everyone turns toward the mountain in the distance as it crumbles, a mammoth pillar of dirt and ash rising up toward the green sky.
Woo! We did it, Swanson! We fucking did it! Now get your team through the forest and to the rendezvous point.
Before she can say copy that, Magpie clamps a hand around her throat and lifts her bodily up into the air.
You idiot fucking cunt! What have you done?
I honestly don't think Slender Girl could have pulled something like this off on her own. Rising star or not.
No, but she looked terrified at the crime scene.
Think she'll flip? You think she's playing us?
I think Slender Girl being anywhere but in a correctional facility or a padded room is worth looking into. I mean, so far, 12 of Rosemary's closest friends, including her boyfriend, have provided absolutely zero usable... Wait a minute.
Both of them go quiet, engulfed by what they are reading. Suddenly, each of them throws a case file at the other.
Got one. Oh my god, how do we do that?
Why are we the best ever?
Sometimes I want to punch us in the goddamn face.
We have a safe word.
One of myriad reasons we're the best ever.
All right, talk to me.
Read the files, lazy ass.
I like your voice. Please.
Try and keep up.
Luke looks down and is met by a photo of a bloody, mutilated corpse.
7 days ago, one Emmett Parsons, park ranger in Golden Canyon, gets his throat slashed open, his face carved with what appears to be the letter V. 2 eyewitnesses claim the attacker was a woman of medium height in a black bird mask who, quote, disappeared into the air.
The indigo gashes inside the limousine are still fresh in Luke's memory.
That's how it would look going through one of those holes. Into the air.
Something about the maimed face tickles at something in his brain, but it's unclear what, so he says nothing. He discreetly reaches into his coat and runs his fingers over the tarot card. Still there. Not imaginary.
Like magic. Sounds like our suspect. Why Emmett Parsons, though?
Nat motions for Luke to turn the page. He flips to the end of the case file and sees she's given him a second case file beneath the first. There are no photos, only a couple scant reports. Luke glances at the pages, then raises his eyebrows at Nat and snaps the file shut again with a shrug.
The bodies of 2 young women were found, also in Golden Canyon, Halloween morning after a big dance festival, Temple 2. One girl, dead of a gunshot wound. The other girl, shot and had her throat cut, died of blood loss. And the best part, her face was, and I quote, mutilated in a way that resembles the letter V. No ID on either girl, no murder weapon found.
So, I don't get it. Where are the photos? Where are the reports from the coroner's office?
Ranger Emmett Parsons found them, and soon as he calls it in, the case gets bounced to a special division, and the investigation makes no further progress.
No shit. Conch?
Nat shrugs.
Maybe not, but it's worth looking into.
I like it. A lot. But something doesn't add up.
What?
Luke motions for her to read his now.
March 15th, 11:26 p.m., a tall white male with a large facial scar in a heavy coat and a beanie walks into a hotel downtown, takes the elevator straight to the top floor, knocks on the door of the penthouse suite, and is let in by one Amelia Targus, pharmacist.
Nat's eyebrows furrow as she examines a video still of Amelia Targus, 40s, hair down, in a bathrobe, letting the tall, scarred man into her hotel suite.
7 minutes later, he exits, carrying a large metal case. Maid discovers Amelia in her room next morning, throat cut. Although this murder was not brought to you by the letter V.
Waiting for the punchline.
Tell me that's not the same type of metal case the senior CONCH agent, Sakayume, was lugging around the limo this morning. With the mask?
Nat squints and sees Luke appears to be correct, but even so...
It's circumstantial, Luke. Like, you're really reaching here.
I'd say so too, except it all went down at the Meridian Hotel. And the homicide investigation went completely dark in less than 24 hours.
As in director Jack Meridian of CONCH Meridian Hotel?
According to his Wikipedia page, his family's been in the hotel business a while, and he still owns a controlling share of the company. There's no way he doesn't know about this. He's hiding something.
Oh, totally. But let's not jump to conclusions.
Not conclusions. Leads.
The kind that need following?
I doubt he manages the hotel's day-to-day.
I agree. Meridian's involved. Which means CONCH and their creepy fucking masks are probably in this too.
And whoever does run the day-to-day might be able to light our way through this mess.
They both stand and grab their coats.
We did promise them a lead within the hour.
Afterwards, we hit Golden Canyon.
And then we pay Jack Meridian and CONCH a nice, friendly visit.
Luke follows Nat to the door, hesitates a moment, then quickly turns back to his desk, grabs the tarot card, and stuffs it back into his coat pocket.
Dream State Episode 2 was written and directed by Matt McCarthy and featured the additional talent of Jonte Godlock, David Bethka, Ann Parma, Kate Newman, Sean Burgos, Eric Shriek, Nicholas Ramsey, Adria Young, Slade James, Laurel Rankin, Marissa Spokes, Drew Petriello, and Ben Groh. Music and sound design by Matt McCarthy. Special thanks to the patrons of Tynan Media, Mariah McCarthy, Robin Macias, Eric Wolford, Caitlin Litzheim, Jessica Ray, and Lucinda Nicholas. Dream State will always be a free podcast, but if you would like to give back and help Dream State continue, please head over to patreon.com/dreamstate. As a patron, you can get early access to episodes, behind-the-scenes extras, as well as other exclusive content and prizes. Thank you so much for listening. Dream well.